let me ask you this question. What do you know about food additives? Are they harmful? Are they good? Are they beneficial at all? What do we really know about food additives? The reality is that food additives have been around for thousands of years, and we can find article after article that tells you the pros and cons of food additives, but knowing what's fact versus what is scientifically proven is sometimes really hard to decipher. So today we're going to talk about just that. We're going to talk about the history of food additives, the science behind food additives, as well as the advantages and disadvantages to food additives. When I started doing research for this speech, I realized that I did not know near what I thought about. I knew about food additives. We really started looking into food additives when we started looking for alternatives to medication for our son who has ADHD. So I want to start out just by talking about the history of food additives. So as I said earlier, food additives have been around for thousands of years and have been used for thousands of years. Prior to the Civil War, many families worked on the farms and grew their own food, and then after the Civil War, thousands of families moved to the city to take factory jobs and then had to rely on others for to get their food from. And that's really when we started to see a rise in food additives. It's clear that food additives have not been around or have been around for far longer than they've actually been reported on the news, and as longer than we've seen article after article about them. So it's hard to say when they started using food additives, but I think it's a safe bet to say that they probably have been using these since the beginning of time. So next I want to talk about the science behind food additives, and it's real simple. Food additives a lot of times are preservatives, and preservatives are chemicals. In 1986, food additives such as colors, preservatives, antioxidants, stabilizers, gelling agents, and other products such as that started being mandated by an E number. And the E number is approved for its intended use in all of the European Union countries. In order for an E number to be approved, it must go through scientific testing and monitoring, and it must continue to go through that scientific testing and monitoring throughout all. It just continually gets tested as we find new scientific information out. So we've talked a little bit about the history and a little bit about the science, and so now I want to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of food additives. Food additives are strictly controlled in some areas due to major disadvantages that people believe that food additives have on children and their attention and their ability to be active with other students. So food additives must prove that there's an acceptable safety profile. Some food additives are so negative that they have actually been banned in some countries. So for example, Sunset Yellow is legal in the United States to use, but it's illegal in Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. In other European countries, it is legal for them to use, but they have to be marked with a label that specifically states that this product may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Even though there's not any scientific facts to back that up, that's just how strongly they feel that these food additives can negatively affect children. The other disadvantages to food additives is it's all about moderation. So too much sugar can cause diabetes, too much salt can cause heart problems. And so it's just real careful that you use these products within moderation. But on the flip side, some of the advantages to having food additives is that our food can actually have some flavor. So using additives such as salt and sugar give our food flavor that would typically be pretty bland without it. Food additives also help preserve our food to make our food last longer, which then helps with us not having as much food waste in the United States and across the world. So I've talked about the history and the science and some of the advantages and disadvantages of food additives. In conclusion, after looking at the history, the science, advantages and disadvantages of food additives, it's safe to say that they're not going anywhere. We're not going to be able to ban them completely. Food additives have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and some are great and some are not. And it's all about finding what works for you and what works for your family, and using the food additives in moderation and paying attention to the way that it affects you and your body.